What are you doing on Tuesday the 26th of September 2023? Because myself and Francesca Amber are coming to the Barbican Hall in London. Our event is called One Night Stand, and this one night event is all going to be about manifestation, crystal healing, and ridding your limiting beliefs to help you achieve your goals. We've curated an immersive experience that will leave you feeling inspired and empowered. Throughout the evening as well, we'll also have interactive exercises, we'll have empowering discussions, and the opportunity to connect with like-minded individuals on a similar journey towards personal growth and manifestation. There'll even be an opportunity for you to ask questions as well. This event is your chance to break free from the shackles of self-doubt and unleash your inner greatness. It's time to release those limiting beliefs that might be holding you back and step into your true potential. And if you want to come on your own, by all means do that. Single tickets are available and seating is totally unreserved, so you can even meet up with your spiritual friends and sit with them as well. Head to @CannyCrystals on Instagram and click the link in my bio. Tickets are limited, so secure your spot and be part of this transformative experience. Don't miss out on the chance to manifest your dreams and achieve your goals. We can't wait to see you there. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Canny Crystals, the podcast. My name is Mart, I'm your host, and this week I have been bloody non-stop, as you can imagine. So earlier this week I launched, and you've probably even signed up to it, you could have seen the email about it, you'll have seen it somewhere. I launched my 21-day Manifesting Money Challenge. Now, this challenge, I was like toying backwards and forwards, with like, how much am I going to charge for it? Like, obviously it's taken so long for me to do. The workbook is absolutely huge. I think it's like 100 pages long. And the idea of it was to put it straight onto Amazon. And then I thought, actually, no, what people struggle with the most is that accountability. So I thought to myself, how about I do it as a challenge, and every single day when you sign up to that challenge, you get daily email reminders. And I just thought that's maybe a better way of going about it. And then I thought, actually, let's give it to people for free. So every day when you sign up to this challenge, the link is in my bio, by the way, but you can also get it at cannycrystalsacademy.co.uk. Click on free resources at the very top in the banner and you'll see it there. All you need to do is pop your name and your email address in and it will automatically sign you up to the email list. Now, basically, you get automatically a download of a free workbook, like say it's 100 pages long. And every workbook, every day in the workbook, should I say, has like a daily task. So that relates to manifesting money. So you're going to learn quick and easy techniques to get you familiar with manifesting wealth and abundance. There's also a daily gratitude for every day as well. So you've got space to write your 3 gratitudes down there to appreciate what you already have. Focus on what's going well in your life. And then there's also a daily affirmation, because obviously using affirmations tricks your brain into believing that you already have everything that you need to help you manifest more of the same. So I'm giving that out for free. There is no cost involved. All you need to do is put your name and your email address. Like I said, the link is in my bio. If you just click on free 21-day Manifesting Money Challenge or head to cannycrystals.academy.co.uk, click on free resources in the top banner and you just enter your details and you'll be signed up. So this week is going to be a bit of a different episode because I put out a little question, should I say, to my members the other day, and I got some great responses. So I put out a question to everyone on my Instagram. I think it was like Sunday night, and I've had, I think there's about 70 messages so far. So I'm going to try and get through as many as I can, but this is a Q&A podcast episode, okay? So some of the questions from my group first. So Catriona Clark asked, how do you accomplish quality manifesting? I keep trying and I do feel like I am failing or not quite doing it right. So I think things like this, Catriona, just kind of take time. Like I always say to use your emotions because that's where you hold your power and your energy, and that's where it all comes from. So when you're visualizing, when you're meditating, when you're using your crystals, I think it's best if you use, those emotions and those feelings. And that's why I always say try and connect to it when you're meditating or when you're visualizing. Because if you visualize yourself in the future, for example, I want you to be able to, touch that child of your future. I want you to be able to, give a cuddle to your future partner, to walk around your dream home, to be driving your dream car. And I want you to feel all those associated emotions, which is why I always say, like, what does it feel like? Who do you go and tell as soon as this manifestation happens? What are you feeling in your body? Is it excitement? Is it, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened? You need to take all that into consideration. But just like anything, the more you do, the more it's going to snowball. Remember the compound effect when I was talking about that book a few podcast episodes ago? The more you do, the more it gains momentum and the more it snowballs. Like some people will say to me, oh, I've tried law of attraction, it doesn't work. And I'll say, okay, what did you try and do? And they'll be like, journaling. And I'm like, okay, well, what else did you do? No, just journaling. And I'm like, okay, journaling is one of the techniques, but journaling alone isn't going to get you anywhere because you're not being grateful for what you already have. You're not aligning your life to, bring in more. You're not decluttering your life to leave space for what you actually want to come in. You're not aligning your entire life around your needs and your wants. So that desire is going to take a hell of a lot longer if you just do one thing, which is part of the reason that I've done this 21-day manifesting money challenge. There are 21 different techniques that I use for manifesting money that you could literally change to, manifesting anything. If it's manifesting a partner or a house or a child or a family or a new job or new friends, whatever it is. Go and download that workbook and you'll see there are 21 techniques in there. That should help you, Catriona. I hope that kickstarts it for you. Sophie Walker asked, do you have any advice on manifesting friends into your life? I know your vibe attracts your tribe, but I'm certainly still waiting for mine. Now, Sophie, I spoke about this a few episodes ago when I said that I felt quite spiritually alone. And I think community really, really helps your manifestations come along. And that's part of the reason that, I created a safe space in my Manifest with Mart app over on the Academy. Because you get to see what other people are struggling with. And you get to gain confidence in yourself because you're helping them whilst they help you. So you're getting that real life lived experience guidance. But overall, I'd say my top tip here is just to put yourself out there because you could be trying to manifest friends. But if you're not going to a gym or a social group or even like a baby play group, for example, if you're not leaving the house, how are you going to meet these new people? You can't just expect the doorbell to ring and, the DPD driver be your new best friend. So don't just expect the doorbell to ring and your new best friend just appear. Take that inspired action. Put yourself out there. Like I know Emma in my Manifest with Mark group last week, she found a local full moon group. It was like a full moon workshop in her area and she went to that. And I know Amy and Fiona, for example, they both went to Emma Mumford's retreat over the weekend in Glastonbury and they met each other there. So I know loads of you are meeting up at mine and Fran's one night show on September the 26th in London. And I just think that things like that will really, really help you to manifest friends into your life because we don't want to manifest someone who has, dissimilar tastes to us or dissimilar interests or likes. We want, like attracts like. We want to attract those people into our lives that are quite similar to us. So I think by getting yourself involved in maybe a social group that's to do with, either spirituality or Reiki or law of attraction, something like that, I think that would really, really help benefit you, Sophie. Denise Priest asked, what crystals help with fitness and weight loss? So there is one that helps with digestion that I always suggest to people, which is apatite. The irony that it's called apatite, because it's really known for cleansing your insides and kind of suppressing that appetite. But what I find works for me best is crystals that are going to kind of work for willpower, strength and confidence, because let's face it, when I am trying to diet, there are the three main characteristics of things that help me get through. So it's willpower, it's strength and it's confidence. I want the willpower to carry on with my diet. I want the willpower to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym. I want the strength in me to be able to get through my day without reaching for a packet of crisps or some chocolate or cans of pop. And I want the confidence to feel and look good in my clothes and look good naked. And do you know what I mean? Like all of that. And I think the three crystals, well, probably even 4 crystals that I would say to really get to grips with for that would be Tiger's Eye, because that's really good for willpower, strength, determination. Then we've got Opalite. Opalite is really good for confidence, self-confidence, looking good in your own skin. Then we've got Quartz, which is an all-round like generic healer, and Sodalite. And Sodalite's going to obviously absorb all of those negative thoughts within you. You could even try Moldavite for like an overall transformation, but they would be my top crystals to use for fitness and weight loss. Hannah Jade said, what is your favourite manifestation story? Not necessarily your biggest goal, but one that makes you think, wow, that was definitely the law of attraction working. So I know I spoke the other week on the pod, I say the other week, time is flying, isn't it? It was probably about 2 months ago, about manifesting the cruise, because that was massive for me. That was literally a holiday, all expenses paid, on a cruise ship with Fran. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if I've even mentioned this other one on the pod, but I got to meet Little Mix a couple of years ago. That was a huge manifestation for me. Obviously, I followed Little Mix, like I was obsessed with them from 2011 onwards. And before Little Mix were even a thing, I met Jade before she went on the X Factor. I think it was like 2007, 2008. She was literally lay on a piano downstairs in a restaurant in Sunderland singing like to a backing track basically, while her mum was sat on the chair next to her because she was too young to be in a restaurant on her own. So while they basically were like trying to get our table ready, they said, oh, go downstairs to the cocktail bar and, you know, have a drink. And Jade was just lay there on the piano singing away. And I was like, you are amazing. We got talking and she was like, oh my God, you're my first ever fan. And it was just so weird that like 2 years later, there she is on the X Factor. And obviously Little Mix won. If you're in the UK, you'll probably know who Little Mix are. You might not know otherwise, but they won the X Factor. And yeah, it was just weird that in, I think it was like 2018, 2019, I was literally like, I was just obsessed with them. I still am to this day. But there was a competition on Twitter and I thought, I'm just going to enter this. And I thought thousands of people will have entered this. And it was just finish the lyrics. That's all it was. And I just tweeted the lyrics, thought nothing more of it. And I'd say a few weeks later, I can't remember if it was months or weeks, but a few weeks later, someone messaged me and they just said, congratulations to Mart, who has won our Little Mix competition. And I was like, oh, what have I won? I won a VIP meet and greet package with Little Mix and to go to their gig. So it was like I think it was called Fusion Festival in Liverpool. So I went with one of my friends and we drove down and we got took backstage. We got to meet Little Mix, and Jade remembered me when I was telling that story. Like my friend even got it on like video. I was telling the story to the other members of Little Mix and Jade was like, oh my God, my first ever fan. And she recognized me straight away. She remembered that. And that was like 10 years in difference or something from when I actually met her. It was the most amazing manifestation ever because I had dreamt about meeting Little Mix for so long on the lead up to that. Like I used to close my eyes and like, I'm going to meet Little Mix backstage at this gig, and it never happened. I think the closest I ever got was when Jade waved at us at Newcastle one time. But I used to like, you know, just close my eyes and just visualize what it would be like to see her and talk to her all over again and, you know, just catch up. And it was pretty much exactly how it played out in real life. So that was a massive thing for me. It might not be big for anyone else, but yeah, that was big for me. Sarah John said, what's the biggest personal challenge that you are facing right now and how are you tackling it? How long have we got, Sarah? So it's definitely adoption for me. So the amount of face-to-face meetings with our social worker coming to our house, all the associated paperwork and homework that we have to do weekly, you know, the training days, the adoption activity days, it's just very, very intense. So I was just saying to Johnny last night, it's weird because we both work from home. Well, we don't work from home. I work from the office, but he works from home in his little office upstairs because he's self-employed. And I just think it's weird that, you know, we can, at the drop of a hat, have these meetings and go to these training days. And I was just thinking, we must have had about 20 meetings with our social worker and each one lasts for 2 hours. And then we have like all these training days, we have these activity days. And I'm like, I feel like so grateful that I'm my own boss and Johnny's his own boss, that we can actually take the time out from our businesses to do this. Because this must be even more intense for someone. You know, can you imagine like going to work like 8 till 5 and then thinking, oh my God, I've got my 2-hour social worker appointment 6 till 8 tonight. That's like a full 12-hour day. It's very, very intense. Like Saturday, for example, Saturday just gone. we went to a day where it was full of children for adoption, along with their foster carers, other potential adopters. And it was full on, as you can imagine, like hearing about why some of the children are in care, birth parents, with alcohol and substance misuse, with the child in utero. I got quite emotional at one point. So how do I deal with it? Don't get us wrong, it was awkward at first, and like I say, I was emotional, but I had my crystals in my pocket, I had my Moldavite on my necklace, I did a little protection meditation beforehand on the couch before we even left the house, just to kind of center my energy, because I knew that when I was there, I would get a bit too attached. And while I was there, I started trying to see it as more of a play group, and basically as though I was trying to, take my child to play with other people and other children, because that's technically what was happening. There was like loads of soft play and things like that out. But it just made me see the day a little differently than I probably would have, obviously. So when we got home, obviously it was a lot to take in. So I even had a bath that afternoon just to chill out, to meditate, and just to visualize our little family in the future, because this is all intense, but I've just got to remember the end goal. And I think that's something that, when we are going through something and when we are facing personal challenges and all these setbacks, you've just got to think of the end goal. Like, yes, it's really crap right now. The situation's really intense. It's really full on. But in a year's time, will any of this matter when you're sat there with that child? And I just thought to myself, no, it probably won't. I won't even remember all of this, this intensity, because I'll just be sat there happily with my child and my partner. So yeah, hope that answered your question, Sarah. Caitlin Humble said, please could you talk about the Lion Gate and its power? Well, it's the Lion's Gate today as I record this, because it's Tuesday. So when this comes out on Friday, it'll be a bit too late. I really should have spoken about this on last week's episode, so I do apologise, Caitlin. But if you head to my Instagram, Canny Crystals on Instagram, you'll see I did a post about that. And if you swipe along, there's a few little pointers. I've also put loads in the caption below. Yeah, I won't bore people because it's already happened. Sorry. Gemma Anderton asked, what is your biggest piece of advice on going self-employed from a full-time job? Oh my God. Well, definitely ensure that that you're able to sustain yourself on a wage, because self-employed at first, some days I got absolutely nothing. And then obviously, like when I did go self-employed, there was some days where, that balance was zero. And the panic sure sets in. The universe delivers nothing, because all you're thinking about is, oh my God, I'm not going to get any sales today. And then obviously the universe delivers, okay, you want no sales? Here you go. And it is scary. Like, don't get us wrong, there's ups and downs. Like one day I might get, £2,000 in sales. The next day I might get 50. It's really up and down. There's no stability. And I think you've just got to be prepared for that, because I think for the first couple of weeks when I launched my business, I was making something like £200 a day. And I was like, oh my God, there's £200 a day. This is what I'm going to be making. But it doesn't work like that, okay? And I think trying to emotionally detach yourself from the business, because in the NHS, I could, do my job and come home and switch off on a night because I wasn't emotionally attached. But when you are emotionally attached, the haters and the trolls, the refund requests, all of that literally get to you, because you think from like the inside, because you're so emotionally attached, that people are having a go at you as a person, not as a business, as a person. And it gets really, really intense. So Denise Duffield Thomas is the best person to listen to, in my opinion, for business advice. She has an amazing podcast. It's called Chill and Prosper, and it's all about learning business. It does have a bit of woo-woo involved. So, there's like some things about tracking, using meditation, energetic income, energetic set points, that kind of thing. But I think my best advice would just be to, not spread yourself too thinly, and to listen to your body. Okay. So I used to work 16-hour days when I was working the NHS and Canny Crystals, and that just wasn't sustainable. So I think I reached burnout a few times, and I often got to the point of crying. I was making money, but that didn't bring in enjoyment or happiness, because I only found that true sense of happiness once I quit my job and once I was able to concentrate solely on Canny Crystals. So I'd say listen to your body, don't spread yourself too thinly. Try and get a business coach or a life coach if you can afford one. It's really, really worth the money, and it doesn't have to be expensive either. But like I say, try listening to Denise Duffield Thomas for her Chill and Prosper podcast. That's probably your best port of call to start with. So then I had messages on my Instagram story, and the first was from our little friend Emma Mumford. And Emma said, what is your next manifestation goal that you're working towards? So obviously for me, it's, getting this new house, getting the baby, maybe more speaking gigs next year. Oh my God, I've got an amazing story about this that happened this week, actually. So since coming back from Happy Place Festival, all I was thinking of is, I want to be at Happy Place next year, and I want to be doing a crystal workshop. I could spin it around crystal healing, mindset, manifestation, law of attraction, all that jazz. And I mentioned this to me members the other day because this really, really weird thing happened. So I've been visualizing, being with Fern Cotton, talking to her and, going through all of how my crystal workshop is basically going to run for the day, as if I'm actually there on the day and I'm getting myself prepared and getting myself hyped up. So back in March, I met Denise Duffield Thomas at, it was kind of like this business conference, okay? And they were selling tickets for the November one, but they hadn't announced the lineup yet. And me feeling a little bougie at the time, I bought the VIP Access All Areas Pass, which basically allows you to have dinner for 2 hours on the night before the conference. So on the Wednesday night, the conference is on the Thursday and the Friday. And with that dinner experience, you got to sit with 20 other business owners and the guest speakers. So anyway, the guest speaker was announced the other day. Guess who it is? It's Fern Cotton. So I'm going to spend a 2-hour dinner with Fern Cotton. And if you listened to my episode a couple of weeks ago when I had the interview with Fern Cotton in my podcast, there was a bit in there where I basically spoke to her about Moldavite and she didn't know what it was. And she was like, I'm going to have to get myself some of that. Emma Mumford said to me the other night, she was like, this is your ticket in. And I was like, yes, it is. Oh my God, I'm going to take her some Moldavite. I'm going to talk to her about crystals and, I might even end up on a podcast. But at the bare minimum, I would love to do a crystal workshop for Happy Place next year. So that's what I'm working towards. Faye Adele 0811 said, how can I motivate myself to stay consistent on these days when I feel blah? Fair, I feel you. Obviously, we all get like that. And I'm most like that around a full moon. And it was something that we were speaking about on our last live call in Manifest with Mart a couple of months ago. And it was that we are all cyclical beings. And by that, I mean that, Sally in my group, she mentioned that she writes one word of how she's feeling in this lunar workbook. And she finds that next month on the exact same time, 28 days later, she feels the exact same emotions. So what I'll say to you is, because we're cyclical beings, we are going through these phases all the time and we all get like that. Like I say, for me, I feel most blah when it's a full moon because I just feel drained. I feel tired. I feel like I procrastinate over everything and I just can't be bothered to do anything. So I find that, to counteract that, I'll put on some self-development podcasts or some happy playlist, something on Spotify that'll make me feel good. I basically practice self-care. So I'll get myself up in the morning and I'll do a face mask or something like that just to kind of kickstart it. I'll have a healthy, nutritious breakfast. You've just got to counteract those feelings as best you can. I might even decide, to read a book or something that I've been putting off for a while. I try and develop myself as best I possibly can because I find that when you do that, you're counteracting all of those negativities and putting yourself in a high vibe situation. So that's how I kind of, motivate myself to stay consistent on those days. Sarah1738 said, everyone around me is getting or manifesting what I want and have on my vision board. Why is this? So Sarah, I will tell you, this is the universe testing you, okay? It's testing you because it wants you to show love and gratitude. So basically, if we talk about when I first test drove that Range Rover, okay, I started seeing them everywhere. So on the way back from test driving it, there was a convoy of them, well, what seemed to be a convoy of them anyway, on the motorway. I started seeing them everywhere. I started noticing people on my estate around here having them. And, before I worked on my mindset, I would have probably walked around oh, you lucky cow, that's the car I want. But it's all about changing your mindset to, oh my God, that's amazing for you. I absolutely love that for you. You're now my inspiration, that I'm going to be at your level too soon. So I think it's just trying to spin it, because the last thing you want is to feel jealous, or because naturally you will feel jealous if other people are getting what you want. Like, say, for example, you want a new job and one of your best friends goes, oh, I'm going in for it as well, and they get the job. You're going to be jealous as hell of them. You've got to try and reel it in and look at it from a third person's perspective. Like, will this matter in a year's time? Probably not. Okay, so just think, like, it is coming to you as well. You've just got to believe and have the trust and the faith that that is coming to you. And every time you see, like, one of your friends getting what you want or have on your vision board, just see that as a sign from the universe. See it as a synchronicity, and just remember to show love and gratitude and be like, okay, thank you for that reminder, universe. It's also coming to me soon. I'm so happy that this is on its way to me. Try and change your mindset like that and see what happens. Miss T789 said, do you have any advice for overcoming procrastination? I keep putting off taking action. So what I will say to you is chew the frog. Okay, start with the worst task first. Okay, because then you're going to get this real buzz and this sense of accomplishment. Okay, so what I tend to do is I like to plan out my day. I have everything in my diary, so that Jade can see exactly where I am, exactly what I'm doing. But as well as that, I also write myself to-do lists on a Sunday night for the week ahead. And I think when you do that, when you work with a planner, you can actually see in bite-sized chunks that, it's not as bad as it looks, because sometimes we procrastinate when things kind of overwhelm us. And when things overwhelm us, we look at them and we're like, oh, I can't be bothered to do any of these. And that's what makes you start and do something else. So you might scroll Instagram, or, you might scroll Facebook, or start playing a game on your phone or something like that. That is ultimate procrastination. When you write yourself lists, you split it into manageable chunks. Give yourself like 2 hours where, you'll put your phone to one side, or you'll turn your phone off and think, okay, this is my productivity time. And that's what I have to do sometimes, because as you can imagine, my phone goes hell to leather. It's always bloody ringing. It's always getting notifications and messages. Sometimes I just have to put it on silent, put it in my drawer, and think, right, for the next 2 hours, I'm not going to even think about my phone. I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to crack on. And I'll go with the worst task first. And like I said, because that gives you a sense of accomplishment. And once you get the worst task out the way, you're going to feel able to accomplish anything, because you've done that. It gives you a sense of achievement. Okay, so I hope that helped. Lawrence Family Life said, when did you first start using crystals and what made you get into them? Lauren, if you go back to listen to episode 1, you will hear all about my story of how I first started using crystals and what made me get into them. For those of you that don't know, my granddad passed away in 2019, really suddenly. I was on high on life. It was the same day that my friend won Love Island, at the same time that I'd been looking after all of her social media. And we also got the keys to this house that we're in right now. And my granddad passed away really suddenly. I had such a mental health decline, and someone suggested crystals to me, and I just thought, what harm could they do? I kept buying them and buying them and buying them, and before I knew it, I had basically room to set up bloody shop in my bedroom. So that in a nutshell is how I got into them and when I started using them, that kind of thing. But someone asked me this the other day. I can vaguely remember going to all the goth shops in Whitby and stuff. If anyone's from the northeast or Yorkshire, you'll know about Whitby. It has loads of goth shops where they sell, crystals and candles and things like that. And I remember being attracted to those shops from quite a young age. And I think my mum even bought me one of those crystal kits. It was DIY crystals, and you had a stone, you had a sachet of powder, and you sprinkled the sachet of powder over the stone, you filled it with water, and you put it in a warm environment, and it started growing crystallizations. Pretty sure it was probably just ice and sugar or something like that, but it started growing these crystallic formations basically. And I used to be obsessed with that when I was younger. So yeah, maybe I was drawn to crystals when I was younger. But yeah, go back and listen to episode 1. You'll enjoy it. I know it's a bit cringy listening to episode 1 because it was my very first podcast, but I'm hoping that you enjoy it anyway. Bruce Hall, don't know how to pronounce that, said, trying to launch my business, but still working part-time. When do we call it? Because it's time-consuming doing both. Yes, it is. And amen to that. Like I say, when I was working for the NHS, I was getting up maybe 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I was doing 2 to 3 hours of packing orders, taking them to the post office because they didn't come and collect from me back then. And I was doing this from my spare bedroom in my house. And then I was coming downstairs at 9 o'clock, working till 5 o'clock in the NHS. And then 5 o'clock, I would take the dog out for a walk, maybe hit the gym if I could. And then all night, I would be back upstairs, packing orders, doing TikTok content, doing Instagram. Every single weekend, I was trying to, do my social media content for the week. And I used to be like quite big on it on TikTok. So I think I had like 80,000 followers at one point. They are dwindling now because I don't bloody post on it anymore. But TikTok took over my life. I was literally spending all day Saturday, all day Sunday, recording videos, editing videos, putting captions on them, doing transitions. Oh my God. I was getting involved in all the dance crazes and stuff like that. It ended up just being like a full-time job, just doing bloody TikTok. So I was like, something has to give. So I think when I first started working with Jude Daunt, my life coach, that was obviously the best thing I ever did. That was in the March, I believe it was. It was like a week before my birthday in March 2022 last year. And I think by the time it came round to my second session, I had been so inspired by Jude in my first session that I walked into my second session and was like, guess what? I've handed my notice in for the NHS. It's just not sustainable working 2 jobs. I was working maybe 16 hours a day. I was working like 7 days a week. I was finding it really, really hard to switch off. I was finding it really hard to build friendships, build relationships. My partner was obviously in the house and I'm just like, just ignoring him while I've got my laptop open, start working here. It just wasn't great, to be honest. I hadn't seen my mum for weeks on end at one point. Something had to give. And I get it. It is time consuming doing both. But like what I was mentioning earlier, try and ensure that sustainability before you do anything rash. Okay. That's what you want to think about. Can I survive on this? When I obviously launched my business, I wasn't making as much as I was in the NHS. But once I hit that plateau where I was like, okay, I'm now actually making more in my business than I was making in the NHS, that's the turning point for me. That was the turning point where I thought, you know what, I just need to put my all into this, send a signal to the universe that I am ready, and put it out there. And I handed my notice in. So good luck to you. Then the next message is from Vixter2409, and she said, what is the biggest lesson or change since you started in your law of attraction journey? So Denise Duffield Thomas always says, your face is your fortune. And that's a big one for me because I was never confident about the way I looked or anything like that. And if you look back to my really early TikToks, they are literally just my hand, for example, twirling a crystal round and showing it off to the camera. And then I would write over the top its benefits because I was scared to show my face. And still to this day, I have imposter syndrome like you wouldn't believe. I think that nobody wants to hear from me, and I'm like, every time I record a podcast episode, I'm like, oh my god, this is the one that people are going to find out that I'm a fraud, or people are going to switch off listening because I've said something that offends someone. That is imposter syndrome, okay? And I talk about that in detail in next week's episode because I'm interviewing Jess Cunningham from Belief Coding because we did a workshop at the Happy Place Festival all about belief coding. And my biggest thing that came up was I have imposter syndrome. But the thing is, something happened magically, amazingly, as soon as that workshop ended. And Fran and Emma both witnessed it and both went, whoa. So, yeah. I think the biggest change in me has been self-confidence and maybe an improved state of mental well-being as well. Like, I'm not saying that, I was unhinged or anything like that, but my mental well-being wasn't great before I started this, before I started on my mindset journey, before I found out about The Secret, the law of attraction. I would get quite depressed, honestly, quite a lot. But now it's nowhere near that. And I am happy with who I am. I'm confident. I have a lot of self-confidence. Obviously, it's still nerve-wracking, standing up in front of a stage, in front of everyone, talking. But it's something that I'm starting to get used to. And it's something that I can, take a deep breath and relax myself and calm myself. And I think seeing things in a different light really, really helps you to see the positives rather than always looking at the doom and gloom as well. So, for example, I've spoken about this before, but my mum and my nana watch the news all day, every day. Even if they go to the bingo, they'll record the news. You know, like some people will record Emmerdale or Coronation Street or EastEnders. My mum records the friggin' news just so she can watch the news. And I'm like, but we sat and watched the news a couple of weeks ago. Well, I had anyway. And I said to Johnny afterwards, I was like, Jesus Christ, I am drained. I've just watched the news for the first time in ages, and it was just all doom and gloom. It was, look, the coral reef is dying. Look, this is what's happening to the ozone. This person's been murdered. This person's been savaged by a dog. And I'm like, honestly, like, it's just draining, and it's really, really energy sapping. So I think the law of attraction and doing mindset work and all of this in my law of attraction journey really has started to help me seeing things in a different light. Because, like I say, it just really helps you to see the positives rather than always looking at the doom and the gloom. Shanok2503 said, I'm waiting on my Moldavite. What do I do with it when it arrives? So there are loads of things that you can do with it when it arrives. Basically, you will receive instructions on delivery. Because I send out instructions in every single order. So that'll tell you, you know, how to cleanse them, how to work with them, what you can do with it. But honestly, my Moldavite, I've got a piece by my bedside. I've got a chunk of it that I carry around in my pocket every day. And I've also got a piece on my necklace that I wear every day. Now, I gave some to Fran a few weeks ago, and she said she put it on a necklace, and she was like, oh my God, it's just so intense. My heart was racing, it was palpitating, and all that jazz. And yeah, it can be intense. But honestly, just stick with it. That's what I'll say. Like, some people will be like, oh my God, this happened and this happened. It's like Hayley Sparks that came on the podcast a while ago. Go back and listen to Hayley's episode if you haven't already. She's got an amazing manifestation story. But she recently ordered some Moldavite. And when I sent her it, the day that she received it, she was working on a shopping channel. That shopping channel went into administration and it closed. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I was like, she's going to be thinking that this is because of the Moldavite. And, you know, like, and she's probably going to like bury it like Fran did. But I was messaging her a couple of days ago and she was like, do you know what? So many new opportunities have come up. And probably she wouldn't have like looked at those opportunities because she was quite happy at the shopping channel that she was at. But now all of these opportunities have come up for her and she truly believes that it's partly to do with the Moldavite. So yeah, so don't worry, you will receive instructions on your delivery. But for me, carry them around, set your intentions on a morning, cleanse them once a week, just like any other crystal. That should help you. Sue Mundy 77 said, what do you do with crystals if you don't want them anymore? So I've had numerous crystals that, you know, I have broken and stuff like that. I mean, oh my God, there was one time when I was working, when I was basically packing up my spare bedroom to move down to my new office where I'm at right now. And I had to do, I think it was something like 9 or 10 car trips in total with boxes because we didn't have enough boxes to transport everything. So I was having to transport everything down the office, unpack everything, bring the boxes back, put more stuff in. It took 9 or 10 car journeys in total. Johnny was away for the weekend. I had JJ sat in the front of the car. It was stressful as shit. And I remember picking up this box at the top of my stairs. I live in a 3-story townhouse. Oh my God, the handles of the boxes snapped and all these crystals just bounced all the way down to the very bottom of the bloody stairs. Some of them smashed, some of them broke into smithereens, some of them just cracked clean in half. And obviously it's sad when things like that happen, but then it's like, what do you do with them? So there are some crystals that have broke, or, you know, like, I don't want to work with them anymore, or I don't want them anymore, and I will, like, you know, cleanse them or gift them to people. You can also return them to the earth. Some people, like what me and Fran did the other week when we were on that cruise, some people like to chuck them in the ocean. It really all depends on you. Some people like to head out into the woodland area, dig a little hole, bury them, and just to, like, send them back into nature, basically. So some people even, I've seen someone on TikTok, I think it was, they literally literally got a hammer to a clear quartz crystal, they smashed it up into a million pieces, and they sprinkled it all over the top of their plant pots to give their plants energy and things like that. So it really, really is all down to, your preference, what you want to do with them. You could gift them to other people if you don't want them anymore. Just cleanse them, make sure that, that they're totally like reset, so to speak, and then gift them to other people, or you can return them to Earth. It's totally up to you. Melly1990X said, how to understand crystals and know what they do. Is there a guide to understand them? Now, it's funny because Weight Loss with Brettles asked similar. She asked, how do I get the most out of my tumblestones? I've charged them, but that's all. So I thought I'll answer these both together. So if you go to my website, cannycrystals.co.uk, click on, I think it's About, and then Crystal Healing. There's a page on there. It's literally the most common asked questions about what crystal healing is, how it can benefit you, how you can use crystals, how to cleanse them, how to set intentions, where the crystals are sourced from. I also did a podcast episode, I think it was episode 2 or 3, right at the very beginning, called Crystal Healing 101, where I talk about all the different colours. I also have a crystal masterclass on cannycrystalsacademy.co.uk. There are books on the website. My favourite would be The Little Book of Crystals. It's only £8. It's a very small book. However, it is jam-packed with information for someone that is just beginning. So, like I've just saying there about the Moldavite, it's all about working with them daily, meditating with them, visualizing with them, and just basically choosing crystals that day that can help support you for the rest of the day. So if you know that you're going to get stressed because you've got to go to work with an absolute arsehole, then choose a crystal for anxiety and stress, because that will help to counteract it. If you are like trying to manifest money and you're going to the bingo or something, take a money manifesting crystal, such as pyrite or citrine or jade, something like that. It's all about what works for you best for that day. Okay, but have a look at those resources. Like I say, cannycrystals.co.uk. Hit the About button and then the Crystal Healing. There's also a blog on there as well. So if you go to cannycrystals.co.uk, at the top you'll see blog. There are loads. I write about all crystals, about what they can do for you, what crystals are best for certain situations, that kind of thing. So I hope all them resources help you. And then the last one, I'm going to have to wrap this up because I'm banging on and on and on. The last question is from Jade Frid, and she said, how do I know if I am manifesting correctly? I am journaling and meditating, but I still seem stuck. So like I mentioned at the start, Jade, try using those other techniques, okay? So my 21-day free challenge, for example, that has 21 different techniques that you can use to help you manifest money. But in all fairness, like I said, you can use those techniques to manifest anything. So you could use feng shui, you could use crystal healing, you could use visualization, you could use EFT tapping, you could do some shadow work and journal on, why you have all these limiting beliefs and blocks. Because working on your limiting beliefs and blocks is a great place to start, because then you can lay foundations for the other bricks on top of that. It's like you can't build a house on sand, or you can't build a house on rubble. You've got to clear it all away first and then start building with those blocks, okay? Just find what best works for you. Ask for signs and synchronicities, because usually when you see these synchronicities, such as like seeing 1111 or 444, that kind of thing, or 88, such as today, for example, when you see those synchronicities, that's usually the universe sending you a sign that it's on its way. You are doing everything that you need to do, and just to have faith and don't be so desperate, okay? Because I used to sit in that desperation and think, oh my God, why isn't it coming to me? I've asked for this a month ago and I'm still not seeing any signs. When is it going to come? And because you are so desperate with that thought in your head, it's never ever going to come to you. So try and release that desperation. Try and just have faith. I think I did an episode on this a couple of weeks ago about releasing and letting go. And it's all about, just being okay with either or outcomes. And that way you'll find that your manifestations, you are probably doing them correctly, but they might not just be coming to you as quick as other people. Okay, so I hope that helped. I hope that you all enjoyed this. Honestly, I've got so many questions that I didn't get round to, but you can always make a part 2 of this. If you did enjoy this episode, please leave me a quick rating or review or subscribe. anything, please share the podcast on your Instagram stories. I always love to see where you're listening from. I know people always take photos from in their car listening, and people on trains and buses. Just tag me on Instagram. I am at Canny Crystals. You can also follow my personal if you like. I am at Mart Tweedy. And I will see you all next Friday for another episode of Canny Crystals, the podcast. Thanks very much, guys. Bye. Come and join me in the Manifest with Mart community. For just £10 a month, you'll get exclusive access to my app, and you'll join all the other beautiful souls in the Canny community, where each day you'll be held accountable to making your dreams and desires come to fruition. You'll also be set daily and weekly challenges. There's a chat room built in so you can talk to people in real time, and you can also pop over any questions that you have in the Q&A forum and I'll answer them for you. It's changing people's lives, and we've already had so many people manifesting things in the first 2 weeks alone. Each new moon, I'll also be going live within the group on a face-to-face video to help you get the most out of the lunar cycles, as well as answer any burning questions that you have. And these live meetups are so powerful, and everyone in the group has had nothing but praise for the safe space that we share. There are very limited spaces for this community, however, just to ensure that I can place my focus on you and nurture you into the ultimate manifester. So if you'd like a spot, please be quick and reserve your seat now. Head to cannycrystalsacademy.co.uk and choose the Manifest with Mart option, where you can get instant access, and what's more, you'll also get access to all of the past recordings and chats too. Join now and start living the life of your dreams.